I'm King Link, it's March, so it's time for the Humble Choice March 2024 review. Once again, I've streamed each game for an hour on Twitch, and if you've watched, you probably know what I'm thinking already, but if not, I'm ready to let you know what's hot, what's not about each title, as well as if you should check them out and who should play them. We have 8 games as well as a mega hit that really hasn't gone for that cheap before, and I also have a bit of history with 2 of these games, but it's a pretty high-powered month. Let's get started with what's already on screen.
Location will make a fine muster point. From here, we can look for our missing troops.
Stormcast, secure the area.
Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin, a tactical RTS with a little more micromanagement focus. Realm of Ruin is another Warhammer game and an RTS, similar to the Dawn of War franchise. This is set in the fantasy realm of the original Warhammer, and it feels like a well-made, competent RTS, mostly focused on capturing points in a style similar to Dawn of War or Company of Heroes rather than base building. There's also a strong focus on melee combat with the idea that units aren't allowed to disengage from battle without using special skills. There's also a conquest mode, which is designed to be more like a roguelite, where you get a randomized map and different twists that amount to different rules on some maps. If you're into this game, that could bring a lot of replayability. At the same time, the special skills can feel a little bit more like a MOBA. Also, you have to find a unit that has the skill you want to use, which isn't always that easy, and the forced melee is going to take some time getting used to. I've seen the AI do some remarkably stupid actions, like walking their melee units right past my archers and then fighting some fresh melee fighters, and the multiplayer it's honestly dead. The player count was barely hitting 20 the week before Humble released. Pick this up if you like the tactical RTS genre or enjoy Warhammer, but get this for the single player. You probably won't be able to find a multiplayer game that you don't personally set up, and also this game did release in November of last year, so that's kind of a fast turnaround and probably a bad sign. Still, the gameplay isn't bad if you're looking for a more melee-focused RTS. Nioh 2, Dark Souls if it was made even harder. Nioh is the Dark Souls franchise if it was made by even crueler devs. Team Ninja was well known for their Dead or Alive franchise and Ninja Gaiden, the later being an extremely punishing remake of the original. They're dedicated to excellent fighting systems that will push for excellence in their precision. Nioh 2 is no different, with a solid fighting system, but it also feels more punishing than most Souls-like, which I think is what people are actually looking for. But I'm not. This isn't necessarily a huge negative, but I found both Nioh 1 and Nioh 2 to have huge cliffs of difficulty, and you will struggle against it, at least very early. There are some interesting enemies, but they all can be brutal in the wrong situation, and I know some people will absolutely love that, but for me, I probably won't tackle this one. Before I end though, I will say there's a good variety of weapons and each weapon style feels different, along with having 4 stances per weapon and skills designed for each stance. Pick this up if you like Souls-likes, but want harder challenges or just want more in-depth combat. If there's one thing Team Ninja really knows how to do, it's add systems to their combat without making it feel bloated, and Nioh 2 definitely succeeds at that.
Stole an armored truck and busted it open? Good job.
Thanks. Your training video on the weak points of different models really helped.
Well,
Saints Row. I really don't want to talk about this one. This will need context. I've avoided talking about a certain topic on my channel, perhaps foolishly. My first job in the game industry was working on Saints Row 2, I was the 6th programmer on it, and worked on it through completion, working on activities, diversions, and making all of that work in co-op, UI, and multiplayer gameplay. That was the first game I ever published, and I'm extremely proud of it even today. I've actually chosen never to talk about Volition or any of my former employers on this channel, and now I'm going to have to break that rule. Mostly because Volition is no more, but also because it isn't Humble, but I will say I am biased. And I mean that because I love Saints Row, and Volition was the company that gave me my start in the industry and really as a programmer. Okay, that said, this is the short version. I feel like Saints Row is a parody of the entire Saints Row franchise and not in a funny way. It's as if they took the characters that they would be making fun of or harmed for comedic value and made them the stars in the series. I struggle to feel like this is a gangster simulator because it never really feels like you're doing crime since you're constantly moralizing it and not really in a funny way either. Ultimately, I don't find the main characters interesting, likable, or even people I'd want to spend time with, and you're with them most of the game. That's a problem. However, I feel like it would be completely incorrect to say everything in Saints Row is bad. The wingsuit is great, and well done better in Just Cause, it's still very fun here. There are a few good moments when not focusing on the current cast of the Saints. The gunplay is good at times depending on which faction you fight, and some missions work. The problem is, this is vastly overshadowed by the story and characters you are forced to interact with. I don't like this game, but if you buy the bundle and liked any of Saints Row or are curious, try it out. As I said, I'm biased because I feel like I was part of the original franchise's amazing legacy, and I am proud of that, but I also really liked every game in this franchise except this one. I didn't even finish this title, only playing for about 10 hours, and that's a very bad sign. Also, because people have asked me to mention this before, this game does have extremely harsh language. While on stream there were multiple curses. I think it had the big MF. That's not really a problem. It's a mature game, it's intended for adults, but if you have children, this has very harsh language and probably some crude humor. Citizen Sleeper, a visual novel with resource management. Citizen Sleeper has good writing and interesting ideas. The writing almost reminds me of Disco Elysium at times, but I also feel like that comparison is a little far off. Still, the situations have a real weight to them. It feels like the odds are stacked against the player and the characters are interesting. The gameplay revolves around slotting dice into different actions to determine the odds of your success. Better dice have better odds, and that influences the actions that you can take in a day. However, having played this in Game Pass, I can tell you after the first hour or so, the game starts to revolve some of the stressful situations and make players' lives easier. It feels like every big bad danger seems to get resolved just as it gets intense, and while it feels like your decisions are stressful early on, by the end of the game you're amassing so much power that it's just waiting for time or just plunking away at a challenge to pass the time. The story loses all its intensity. Pick this up if you like a good story. The narrative here starts strong and the resolution to the story is well told. The problem is almost all the highest and most dangerous stakes in the story have been resolved about halfway through the story, and there's no randomness, so a second playthrough means all the same reveals will happen, allowing you to manipulate the playthrough to your liking. Black Skylands, a pixel art game that really impresses. I'm normally not really a fan of pixel art games, but Black Skylands shines. The character models look amazing, the world looks interesting, and it's always clear what every object should be, at least mostly. There's a massive world to explore with what appears to be a ton of interesting locations. The player pilots a small boat that can shoot cannons at enemies, and the player can also hookshot between islands, boats, and more. However, I struggled with the controls. I will say I think it might have been more user error, but if not, it will take players a while to get used to the game. There are no huge penalties, but it's still a bit frustrating. Also, it's not always clear what areas are right for players' experiences, so I'm not sure if I struggled or just found areas and enemies that should be fought in the later game. Pick this up if you like the art style here and want to explore a large, vast world. There's a lot to discover and find here, and that's what really worked. I kept wondering what would happen to me on the next trip, and I kind of want to keep playing to see where my next trip will take me. Soulstice. Bayonetta while missing the charm. Soulstice is designed as an action game. There are long levels separated into arenas, there's a scoring system designed for replayability, and a ton of mechanics that need to be tried and mastered. While playing Soulstice, there were a lot of games that came to mind. Metal Gear Revengeance, God of War, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, and even Darksiders. And Soulstice feels like it's standing on the shoulders of greatness with its combat system. However, Soulstice is missing something important compared to all those games. It's not one simple thing, but more of a style, a presentation, a defining animation, or a character personality that really works here. Soulstice is just lacking an important part of the DNA of this genre, and it's noticeable. Pick this up if you like action-adventure hack and slashes like Devil May Cry, but understand this is a B-tier effort. There's also a lot of different mechanics at play here, perhaps too many, but also it allows players to get engrossed in the combat system.
Village. No! How could this have come to pass?
So those fiery monsters were truly targeting our
Afterimage, a beautiful Metroidvania. Afterimage has a large world with multiple different paths that tantalize players with its secrets. There are tight controls along with the combat system with multiple different weapons. I've already found 5 weapons that includes a normal sword, a great sword, a scythe, and a whip, and I have enjoyed using those 4 weapons. Each weapon feels well balanced. The slower weapons doing twice the damage of the quicker ones really helps pay off. Afterimage does a poor job with its signposts telling players which direction is the path to the next area, which made it kind of frustrating to explore. The story is also a little harder to follow, with many characters referring to things that players really don't know about yet. The English voice acting was okay, but some viewers of my stream actually preferred the Japanese, and truthfully it is a better version. And there is an experience level based system, but try as I might, I had no clue where those values are shown to the player. and while the controls are good, I do have to mention that they did take a bit to get used to. Pick this up if you like Metroidvanias. Though this is on the easy side so far, it is a great example of the Metroidvania experience, especially building out a map and then backtracking to open up a new area. There's tons of large open areas too that just make the player feel like there's a ton of different directions that they will want to go at the same time.
Good evening, Captain. All preparations for getting underway are on schedule. The XO is already on board, as are the department heads.
Destroyer the U-Boat Hunter, a simulator game. Not being clever, that's just what it is. This is just a highly technical simulator of a destroyer where players take on the role of the captain in World War II. Players have limited resources to find and sink submarines. They can be shot with cannons, but more likely be sunk with depth charges. Distance, depth, speed, and more have to be taken into account, and every little thing is done extremely realistically in a way many people won't enjoy. Oh wait, that's the positives of the game. Uh-oh. This is a simulator, and that is fine. However, the graphics, especially in the cutscene, feel like they're from the PlayStation 2 era. This was actually released in 2022 or 2023, depending on who you listen to. I was able to pass missions just by ramming convoys, failing the missions, and potentially skipping the failure screen. I get why this game will be fun for some players, but it's also going to only be fun for a tiny section of gamers. Pick this up if you want a destroyer simulator. For what it does, it's not bad, it's just very few people will want what this is. However, I will say I'm going to give this a thumbs up on Steam because for what it's trying to do, it does extremely well. But in a bundle like this, yikes. And those are the games for a humble choice. 8 titles, and yeah, once again we end on a rough choice, but I'll just let it play on so you can see it. So as always, I try to take a look at Is There Any Deal, who's actually changed their format this month, but if you look closely, you'll see this isn't a bad choice. Nioh 2 is a hot commodity, it's really under 30 bucks, never actually been below 24. Realm of Ruin is also in that boat, but remember that came out only 6 months ago. Destroyer has retained a good price, but yeah, I don't think people are going to be picking this whole bundle up for that. However, the rest of the bundle kind of bottoms out in the price department. Saints Row is currently 10 bucks on Steam, and many of the rest go for cheaper. Soulstice has been bundled in fanatical pick and mix deals. It's currently in 1, so if you only want that game, that might be a better way to get it. Afterimage is the same story, but not currently bundled. There are a couple coupons that I should mention, they're a little strange. Destroyer has a supporter DLC that honestly probably should have been included. Saints Row has their expansion pack, but I can tell you it's not really worth it from what I played. I played Murder Circus a bit and it was only okay. Then there are 2 coupons for Turbo Golf Racing, which kind of comes out of nowhere. The bundle has some big games. Nioh 2, Saints Row, and Warhammer are $60 AAA titles, at least they were supposed to be. The smaller games have a solid mix though, and are in popular categories, especially Metroidvania and hack and slash games. With that said, it's time for the tiers. 4 tiers, games worth the full bundle price, strong contenders, averages, and misses. Starting with the bottom, yeah, there's a miss this month, and not just because I couldn't land a hit. It's Destroyer the U-Boat Hunter. It's been playing for a long time on screen. I think you can tell why it's not going higher. It's not the right choice for a humble choice. Only simulator fans really will enjoy this one. And going to the average games, it's Saints Row. I almost didn't rank this, but I also can't give it higher than average. And personally, it's lower in my book. But it is a large-scale game, there's a small amount of fun, and maybe some people will like it more than me. But if you want my real, honest feelings, check the description. I'll link a Steam review I wrote when I was a lot frostier on it. Following this up, we have Soulstice. This isn't a bad hack and slash, but it's not a good one, and I struggle to recommend it. I wish there was a little more work here because the gameplay was really fun, the characters just didn't have the charm necessary. And this is how we look after 2 tiers, but hold up, we have a ton of games in the strong contenders this month. Starting with Black Skylands, the art is really good, the exploration is sweet, and while the controls did annoy me a little bit, that should fade when players get used to them. I know it was getting better near the end of my time. There does seem to be a lot to see and do here and appears to have a very long playtime as well. Next up is Afterimage, which is a great Metroidvania that's worth checking out. The art is nice, but it's all the different weapon types that really made me appreciate the work that went into this game. After that is Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, Realms of Ruin. I can't ignore how fast this game reached the bundle. There's just something wrong, but also the single player campaign wasn't that bad. This will please Warhammer fans, though like most Warhammer games, it's made for fans and non-fans will struggle to get into this universe in a single game. And the top of the strong contenders, Citizen Sleeper. I'm a sucker for a strong story, and that's what you get from Citizen Sleeper. While there is a lack of challenge, I still remember the characters from this game from the first time I played through it. And that brings us to the final category, and 1, 3, 7... Shoot, there's only one game left. Alright, let's just finish this off. It's Nioh 2. Yeah, I didn't like it, but once again, I understand it. I appreciate it's just not my style. The game looks great, has amazing controls and features, and is a challenge people will go crazy for. It's a big headliner that will be a bundle seller, and probably already is. And that's what I have for this month. Here's the final list. Normally I have a separate bundle to try to offer to people who aren't interested in this one. Nothing has sparked that interest in me this month, so we'll leave it with just these 8 games. Is there a bundle I should have brought up? Is there a game that should be higher in the tier list? Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this coverage of Humble Choice, let me know. I'm glad to hear it. And you know what? Don't subscribe. Let's do a little reverse psychology here. Or normal psychology, right? Also, don't click on either video that's on the screen. They're not about awesome retro games that are worth hearing about. Don't click the link to join my Discord. Man, I hope this doesn't work. I don't think I can be this negative in the future. I mean, I can be. I don't even know what I want anymore. See you next time.